So for this morning, I'll be talking about how to write capsule proposals. We will be unpacking the fibers and fabrics on capsule proposals. So I'll be starting the talk with this one. Allow me to borrow this quote from Deep Forever. Life is a research and we are researchers. So with that in mind, I think in everything that we do in life, in everyday undertakings that we have, there is a research component on it, and we are going towards being researchers every day. It's like because every day we deal with problems, and then the manner we solve those problems is also a research. It may not be that formal, but in that sense, it's still research. And I also would like to highlight the message that was given by the Dean, Dr. Mercedita Villamayor, that in everything that we do, we have problems. And to solve that problems in a scientific way, we do research. So with that, I think research really is something that we need to do not only for promotion's sake, or not only to have something that we had as a publication, but to also satisfy ourselves in terms of that matter. Because in every day that we do and the encounters that we have, it's still good that we have something that we will be proud of, something that we do with soundly and ethically. So let's try to journey a little on the research part of our lives. And writing capsule proposals is the first stage of doing that. So what is a capsule proposal? So capsule proposal is something that we write in order for us to have something to read on and something to know what do we want to find out. So in research, it's something like that we write for others to see if it's worth funding or it's worth something that we do. So for students, you will do capsule proposal for the panel to see if it's worth studying, something like that. So it usually has different components, but later I'll be sharing that. But here are some questions that we need to answer with this talk. The first is, what are the parts of a capsule proposal? And then what information do I need to provide to justify the proposed study? So let's start with the parts of a capsule proposal. So this is a university format for writing capsule proposals. And we could also have a little bit of tweaking on this, but we could also have it this way. So you start with the title, what is the study all of, what is the title of the study, and then the proponents or the researchers. You can write the lead researcher and the other researchers. And then you also have the rationale, or you can have it as introduction and not rationale. And then aside, if you have it introduction, you can add framework of the study if you want to have a framework. Or if you have a rationale, you can just put the framework in the rationale. And then the next will be the objectives. What do you intend to do? And then the methodology. How will you do it? And then you will have the references and the line item budget. I think it's if you want it to be funded. And then the Gantt chart will be the timeline on the different activities that you will be having. I think there is an addition now, the plan for dissemination. How will you disseminate your plan for utilization and dissemination? But maybe that will be part later. So with that, I think I need to look into the fibers of the parts of the capsule proposal. So let's start with the title. If you will write a title, the title should summarize the main idea of the paper. So if you have the main idea, meaning you are able to target your variables, if you have variables, or the different concepts that you have in your paper, it should be a concise statement of the main topic and should identify the actual variables or theoretical issues under an investigation and the relationship between them. So I have here some tips on how to maybe write a good title. Last Monday, I attended the research committee hearing on the funding of the research proposals that were submitted. And this is one of the tips that I can say, that if you want your research to be funded, Your title should not promise more than what actually is proposed in the study. Meaning the title should capture what's inside the paper and will not be so over flouting, or it will be something like myopic also, meaning it was not able to capture what it was supposed to capture. Maybe it's too high or too low, something like that. So it should not promise more than what is actually proposed in the study. So you need to capture what you ought to capture. And then the second tip is avoid too parochial and myopic research title. When you say parochial and myopic, it seems to be that it's more baryotic lang. You need to look into the international scene, and then your title should be written in a manner that it will be applicable to all. Meaning the readers will be looking into that your paper would also have relevance to their society, something like that. So not too narrow and not too little. So you need also to make your title sound like it's good to read, something that will capture the interest of the readers, something like that. So avoid too parochial, like, okay, this study is, example title is Bukidnon State University students, blah, 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 blah. So it's too parochial. You can just delimit, put it in the delimitation, something like that. So you can just have it maybe for all and not only for Bukidnon State University. So make it something that will be looked forward by other readers also, not only in Bukidnon State University. And after the title, I'm looking into the rationale. So I have here an inverted pyramid. So in that, the most important to the least important. So the most important that you need to have is what really is the proposed study all about. So you need to have a paragraph on that. So you talk about it, the variables, you define your operationally or theoretically your terms, and then what is the problem, something like that. And then related literature, you need to do a review of related literature because you need to see the gap in knowledge. What has been done, so show to us what has been done and what has not been done. What's the actual and what is expected, so that we can see the gaps. And then later on, if you were able to see the gaps, I think you can make use of it to draw hypothesis. So you can try to hypothesize something in order to address the gap. So this is one of the technique that we can have in writing our rationale. Aside from that, we also have another technique. We have here the 4 moves. So on the first paragraph, you can write what the study is all about. So tell us a little about what the study is all about. What do you want to know? What do you want to investigate? And then the second paragraph must talk about what do other authors say about the topic. So this is on literature review. What do they say about it? Is it good to be studied or it's overstudied? Something like that. And then the third paragraph will talk about what are the gaps in knowledge with respect to the topic. So with your synthesis of literature, I think you can see gaps there. And then the gaps there will be the area or the research phase that you can venture on. And you can look into a further investigation. And then the fourth, what do you plan to do with the gap in knowledge? So what will you do in order to address that? So you can then start looking into your research objectives after that, because you already know what is the gap that you need to answer. And I have here an example, I think. Okay, here's an example. I think this is a study on AIDS. So here's the first paragraph. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome is a communicable disease caused by human immune deficiency virus, which damages the human immune system. De Groot et al. Averred that AIDS is a disease that spreads as a function of the lifestyle of people across the globe. The World Health Organization warned of the unprecedented rise in the HIV cases, particularly among developing countries in the world. Although statistical data on HIV incidence in Cebu point to an alarming 7% incidence rate, no scientific model has been developed for public health policy purposes in the country. This study models the spread of HIV in the city of Cebu and uses the model to predict AIDS in the cases in the city by 2020. So with this, you can already see what AIDS is all about, and then what is the problem with it based on World Health Organization, and then what the study would likely to do, something like that. So it talks about what the study is all about. So that's in the first paragraph. In the second paragraph here, what do other authors say? So here we have a review of literature. The most common epidemiologic model for the spread of communicable diseases uses the compartmentalized SIR model. Such models are useful for controlling the spread of communicable diseases, since one cannot concentrate any one or two compartments at a given time. So here we have some other authors say about the SIR model that will be used in the study. If it's effective or not, or can it be used, something like that. In the third paragraph, we're looking for the gaps in knowledge. So the models that have been reviewed reveal that the main focus of the epidemiologic models is on the relative changes in the sizes of the compartments of the SIR model. The models have not taken into consideration how these relative sizes are influenced by the social lifestyle of the people under consideration. So we can see the gap here that I think not much study was conducted in terms of looking into the relative sizes, of the lifestyle of the people. So I think that will be where the study will go into. And then in the fourth paragraph, the plan to address the gap. So here, social lifestyles such as multiple sexual partners, commitment, protected sex practices, and health checkups are lifestyle factors that can impact on the rate at which entry into any epidemiologic compartments. Functional relationships between those social parameters and the disease parameters will be determined in the final model to be developed in the study. So here, in order to address the gap that we had in the third paragraph, the social parameters and disease parameters will be looked into in the SIR model, and they will be, I think, developing a model to address that. So this is an example for how to make use of the 4 moves that we have in writing rationale or introduction. But the main thought of it is that if you are writing an introduction, it should be organized, it should be coherent, and the idea should be united. So I think we need to recall the basic skills that we had in writing a paper. Aside from, so we already have the inverted pyramid, we also have the 4 moves. We can also make use of the CARS model in writing our rationale. So we have here the first move is to establish a territory. So we need to write the situation all about. And then the second move is establishing a niche. So we'll be talking about the problem in the next part. And then in the third part, the third move, we occupy the niche. So we will be looking into writing what is the solution that we would like to look into, something like that. So we could also make use of the CARS model in presenting our rationale. Okay, so here, I have here an example. I think this study is on stress. So the first move, so the first paragraph is on establishing a territory. So the situation. Stress is an ever-present factor in the lives of university students, many of whom have difficulty regulating stress and functioning to their fullest potential. Many individuals chose to relieve their stress by listening to music, and stress relief as a result of music listening has been researched through both physiological and self-perception studies. Music listening decreases physiological stress by indirectly decreasing cortisol levels. Studies focused on self-perceived stress levels found that listening to music with the goal of relaxation is significantly more effective than listening to music for the purpose of distraction, according to self-report measures. So here, the writer would like to put the situation in terms of stress. And then here, I think it's more on the listening of the music, and maybe the purpose of the listening of music. Is it to tone down the stress or to just distract? And then on the second move, we have establishing the niche. And here we will clarify the problem, because in the first paragraph, we cannot really see the problem. So here, while the positive relationship between music listening and stress relief has been supported within the general population, little research has been done to examine music's effect on the mental health and stress levels of university students in particular. University students exhibit a higher rate of both stress-induced depression and anxiety than the general population due to the pressures of completing complex programs, while often living away from home for the first time. As a result, student stress relief is a critical part of ensuring student well-being, especially with student mental health at the forefront of many recent discussions among university faculty and staff and students. With stress as a problem, there is here an indication of mental health and then well-being. So here, stress relief is because we need to establish our niche, something like that. In the third move, it's more on looking for the solution. So a study will be conducted on looking into undergraduate residents at Conrad Glevel University College use music in relation to stressful situations and how stress relief through music listening is perceived. So an hypothesis was then given. We hypothesized that students will report stress relief as one of the primary reasons they choose to listen to music, and that they will report choosing music they enjoy when they need to relieve stress. Patterns observed in student responses will be used to determine specific research questions for further investigation. And research on student stress relief could help inform university policymakers. So I like this ending because there is the how to address the gap. So here is an indication of the objective. Here is also an indication of the significance of the study and also the potential findings that will be presented. Because if we will be doing research, we also need to look into the potential findings that we will be having. Because later on, you will be asked, what then? What's the purpose of this research? Then what? It's something that we just don't do research just to answer problem, but to see also its relevance to the real world that we have. Because it will just gather dust on the cupboard if you will just make research for research sake and not really to solve a problem that could be of help to each one of us. Because right now we have a lot of problems and we need to innovate more. We need to solve those problems for us to live a better life, something like that, for the comforts that we will have. So I think that's the ones that I could really share on how to write a rationale, because as one of those who are evaluating research papers to be funded in the university, as part of the research committee, one of the things that we are looking is that we can say that a good paper has a good rationale. Because in the rationale, we could really grasp, we could really go deeper if the proponent really has the capability to do the research and he has the necessary or the prior knowledge to do such. Because we also need to establish that the researcher is really fitted to do the study. So with that, a good paper has a good rationale. So when we say a good rationale, you're looking into it's well organized, that the synthesis of literature is really that good. And I could also really see the gap on the paper. What is really needed? Because looking into that, we cannot really make a research out of not reading anything at all, no? Because we need to look into facts already, and we can consider the literature as facts for that sake, something like that. And then another tip that I have is we need to remember the law of parsimony. So when you say the law of parsimony, more talks, more mistakes, less talk, less mistakes. So do not write anything there on your rationale because it will just make it disorganized. You just, I think what you need to do is piliun gid ang mga words nga dapat appropriate ang mga words sa paragraph. Ayaw kaayo tong over kaayo nga words nga pwede siya makahatag og other meaning, no? Because in that na ay mga misunderstanding na noon nga mahitabo o dili na noon makuha sa gabasa ang inyong paper. So the thing that you need to do is, example, if you have a paragraph, if the first sentence talks about AIDS and then it covers something about this, and then the next sentence will also have the same matter but at different lens. Because your rationale, I'm looking into a rationale that has a lens, meaning you just did not place a rationale there without using something like a framework or a lens that could, or a perspective that could be useful in looking into that. No, because you need to have that for us to have something on your side. Like what is, at what lens, at what situation are you in? Because each of us has different perspectives. We are of different backgrounds and contexts. So when you write something, consider those because maybe other, it's not only of the same maybe field of specialization will read your paper, other specializations will also read. So I think it should be generic. I mean, it should be for all, something for general audience. Not too technical also, because some of these should be utilized by all, not only for that purpose. So I think I'm done with the rationale. So you can just choose whether you will make use of the inverted pyramid, or you will make use of the four moves, or you will make use of the CARS model, or you could make use of your creativity, because the end point of making a rationale is you can tell a story. You need to tell a story on why is there a need to do a study on this, something like that. Because at the end of the day, it's the story that you will place in a rationale that will count on our hearts and our minds. So I think we can relate more if it will be, the storyline will capture our senses. That's I think that's the really thing. You may or may not follow those steps, as long as you can present a well-written storyline of what the problem really is all about. You can make use of those, but you could also make use of your own creativity, because I think each one of us has our own way of how to relate facts, how to tell a story, something like that. So I think that's all for the rationale. And next, I'll be talking about the objectives of your study, or you could have it as a statement of purpose, or the statement of the problem per se. So what is necessary in the objectives is that it should be defined clearly what you intend to do and accomplish. And then you show a logical structure or flow on how you conduct the study. So your objective should be progressive from the first thing that you need to look into down to what's the end of it. You do not disorganize it, because your chapter 4, the results and discussions, will just follow the sequence of your objectives. And then it should be smart, meaning the objective should be specific. It's clearly defined. It should be measurable. It could be answered, no? Because if you will be asking a question and then it cannot be answered, then you cannot really do it by research. And then attainable. So it could be done. If you look into that, if you only have 6 months to do that, so make it 6 months. So that have a research that will be longitudinal and will cover 10 years. It should also be results oriented and time bounded. So with this, I think what can I share about the objective is that it should be really clear. If you write the objective, is there a significant relationship of this and that? Then it can be answered using correlation, and you can make use of this statistic, something like that. Because in writing our objectives, we need to know beforehand how we will answer it. So we need to know if our methodology is fitted for the objectives or not, or if our rationale is really captured with our objectives. Maybe because we have a very good title, but the title is not being captured by the objectives that we set. It is not answered by it. So I think there should be an alignment of our title, our rationale, our objectives, and the rest of the parts. I think that's the thing that we need to look into. We also need to look into our capability. If kaya ba nato, nabataan nga skill para maansiran, something like that. Because looking in how we write our objectives, we also know what methodology are we to use and what statistics are we to use because of our objectives. So there are prompts, like if you will ask, determine this and that, so meaning you will make use of descriptive statistics. And then if you say, is there a significant difference on this and that, so you'll be making use of the comparison tests, like the t-test, the f-test, and whatnot. And then if you say, is there a significant relationship, then you can make use of correlation analysis techniques. Or other than that. So if you would like to ask questions that can be answered qualitatively, then go on. And then after the objectives is the methodology. I think your research teachers can go deeper on the methodology, but these are the things that you need to place. I think it's just a paragraph or series of paragraphs. You can talk about the research design. So when you say research design, it's more on, are you using the qualitative design or the quantitative design? If you're using the qualitative design, what qualitative technique are you using? Is it a case study? Is it a historical? Is it a phenomenological study? Is it a case study? Something like that. Or if you have a quantitative, is it maybe comparison? Is it a correlational study? Or is it a descriptive study? It depends. So your study will be looking into the research design. Take note that your research design must be appropriate. For your research to be replicable, sound, and maybe thorough, the research design should be looked into very much. Because there are things that you want to be answered of, but your research design is limited to certain questions only, something like that. So you need to look into that. But I know your research teachers can help you with that. And then the locale, you look into the place or the location where you will be conducting the study. So you share a little about it. Example, if your study is on online learning, so maybe you talk about the internet cafes that you have in the locality. You describe the internet connectivity that you have. Is it something lag or whatsoever? And then you describe the homes that you have or the school. Is it a Wi-Fi zone or whatsoever? And in the participants, you describe the participants in terms of its merit on the study. Example, if it's online learning, are the students tech savvy? Can they really make use of the computer? Are they not afraid of the computer? Something like that. Or all the participants IT literate or something to do with that. And then the materials and the instruments. If you will be making a proposal, be sure to attach your instruments because it will be looked into if it will be capturing what you really are asking in your objectives. The instrument is very important. It should be valid and reliable. When you say valid, I think there's a content validation to be done. And for the reliability analysis, you can make use of the statistical software that we have for the reliability analysis, no? Because it should be something that should capture everything that we need to do. It should be valid. Because if your instrument is not valid at all, then everything that be resulting on that will not be valid also. So the first thing that you need also to look into is the validity of your instrument. Is it really a good instrument? Is it sound? And then next is the procedure. So your procedure will be aligned with your research design. So if you are having an experimental study, so you may have steps on doing an experimental study. And then the ethical considerations or the ethics will be talked later by Dr. Vivian Lorenzo. And then the statistics that will be considered also. So you can just have 2 paragraphs for the methodology or 3 paragraphs. It will be as long as it's well defined and it's clear on what you really want to capture in your study. So for the capsule proposal, what you really need is a good introduction and a good methodology and also a good objective. The rest will be done, but these are the most essential that you need to do. I think that's all that I can really share. And I hope you were able to learn something from what I had shared. I would just like to end with this one. According to Buddha, there are 2 mistakes one can make along the road to the truth. Not going all the way and not starting. So with that, I think we need to start. Because if we will not start, then nothing will happen. So start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Enjoy the writing process, the research process. And I know all of us can do research. It's just that we have reservations to do so. And I think we just need to be trained to do so. We need to have more capability buildings. But after it, if we were able to write one research, then the next thing that we will do more. The messy thing there is that the starting point. But if you were able to successfully go away with the start, then we can end at our right time and right position. I think that's all. Thank you for listening.